Hi guys, so I decided a while back that I'm going to attempt to make a video just explaining an experience I had. I went on actually a podcast a while back where I talked all about this, and it was called Thai Girl for God, and it was hosted by a lady named Geraldine, and she's really sweet and really nice, and she gave me the opportunity to tell my story on her podcast. And that was really nice, but I wanted to make my own video about it, and I may be on her show again at some point in the future just to talk about some other supernatural experiences I've had. But let me kind of give some background. So I've always been kind of sensitive to supernatural type phenomenon. Uh, when I was growing up, in the first house I lived in, it was a little bit haunted, and I guess that's kind of like saying somebody's a little bit pregnant because it's either haunted or it's not. But it wasn't really strong phenomena. It was just a little bit here and there that was a little creepy. So that's why I say that. We would be in the bedrooms, and we would hear footsteps going up and down the hall, and nobody was out there. So one time, at that time, my sister wasn't born yet, and I was in my room, and my mom was in my room with me. Nobody else was in the house because my dad was at work. And we heard footsteps going up and down the hallway, and it was really creepy, and nobody was there. There wasn't a home invader or anything like that. And I think at one point the doorknob even jiggled. And nobody was breaking in the house. Nobody was doing anything like that. But we looked out in the hallway and stuff, and nobody was there. And this was kind of a recurring thing that would happen, is there would be doorknob jiggles and things like that, and footsteps going up and down the hall, especially in the afternoon or at night. And I just kind of got used to it. At one point, there was this I saw a shadow person a couple of times at the old house, and I was never quite sure what I had seen, because I think I told my mom one time, and she just thought, well, it's a little kid, because I think we moved here when I was 7, so at the time, I was a little kid, and I think at the time they weren't sure what to think. But one night, I looked out one of the windows on the side of the house, and I saw a shadow person out there move away. And no, it wasn't somebody peeping in our window. It was actually a shadow. Like, you could see it fairly clearly, but it was a silhouette. It wasn't an actual person. And I could also tell because proportions were just different from a person. And I don't think I really remember that until recently. It was a memory I kind of suppressed, because I think at the time I just wanted to think, well, it's just like, because, when you watch TV shows as a child and things like that, they always talk about how, oh, there's no real such things as monsters and all that. And so I think I kind of put it away in my mind. It's like, oh, I just imagined that, or, something like that. But I really did see a shadow person out the window. And there were other little things that would happen at that house. Just not actually, a really good environment as far as that goes, because I feel like although I really like the house, and sometimes I even go back to visit it sometimes just to look at it. Not in a creepy stalker way, but like I'll just pull up on the street and pull over on the curb and just sit there for a few minutes and then drive off. Because, that was my childhood home, or my first childhood home anyway, and so sometimes I do like to go and just see it. And I had some really good memories from that house. So it's not like it was a bad house or anything, but I feel like it was definitely haunted. And some of the stuff I can look back on and wonder, if it had something to do with that or not. And The truth is that at the time, I didn't really think of it that much as being haunted. I thought of, I did think the footsteps were kind of creepy, but I don't think I really connected it to ghosts or anything. It was just like, sometimes there's footsteps in the hallway and nobody's there. So it was kind of creepy. And then, I never really knew for sure whether I was imagining things or not as a child. But the fact is that my mom also heard the footsteps, so I know that it wasn't just me. And one of the things I was going to say is sometimes I would have these dreams. And they were the creepiest dreams. In these dreams, I would be riding in my parents' car. It was a brown Pontiac with like a white top on it, just like a regular car. And it had a front seat and a back seat. Anyway, I would be, in the dream, I would be riding in the back seat. We'd be going down the road that we lived on at the time. This is all in the dream. This isn't something that happened in real life. And then, like a white human entity or something would open the back door to the car and would reach in for me. Now, this, as far as I know, nothing like this actually happened in real life. But this was a recurring dream I had, and it would reach in and try to like grab me out of the back of this car. And this would happen when I was asleep, when I was dreaming. And I do think, at the time I just thought it was a bad dream. But looking back on it, I mean, it seems more demonic now that I look back on it. So it is something to think about. There was also, around the time that, there was a lot of abuse going on at my school, which I detail in other videos. I really feel like some of these demonic entities kind of fed off of that a little bit. And there was one at the house, and I noticed it was in one particular bedroom of the house that I spent a lot of time in. And it kind of presented itself as like a female presence. Although I didn't really talk about this at the time. I didn't tell my parents about this or anything, because I wasn't actually seeing it. It was more like an impression almost of it being there. It's really hard to describe unless you've experienced this kind of thing. It's really hard to describe. It's like I didn't actually see anything, and I didn't actually hear anything, but it's like it was sending this impression of itself into my mind. And it called itself Adlido, and I'm not sure what that means. I think it was connected to some of the creepy stuff that was happening in the house. But anyway, please don't try to contact this thing or anything, because it's not a good thing. It's not a good creature, whatever it is, But it would kind of, it's really hard to describe. It would kind of feel like it was just a malevolent type of presence. And it's like it enjoyed the fact that, when I would be unhappy or something. And I didn't really talk to it or interact with it that much, but I got that name, the impression of its name, and the impression of, like, it felt female, even though there's two views of demons. One of them is that they're all fallen angels, and I do think some of them are fallen angels. And then there's another view of demons that there were Nephilim created, both hybrids of fallen angels and humans, and fallen angels and like sinning with the animals and stuff as well to create these kind of hybrid entities, and that when they died, that these creatures became demons as well. And so I do think that both things are part of what we call demons. The world, Timothy Alberino talks about this some. I don't necessarily agree with everything he says. Like, I do have some points of difference with him. But he does talk about how there's a lot more to the spiritual world and things like that than just, angels, fallen angels, humans, and God. That there's this whole other, groupings of creatures that are not necessarily falling into these neat categories. So I really do think that there could be the spirits of the hybrids and stuff that they talk about in Genesis 6, that they reference in some other parts of the Bible. David fought a giant. I think King Og was a giant. And I don't think they were all necessarily giants that became demons either. I think some of these demons are from other types of pairings. Every culture that has stories about giants also has stories about little people. And so I think Gary Wayne talks about them as being like elementals or something. So, I mean, there are quite a few different types of demons out there. So I can't tell you where these came from. What I can tell you is that because a lot of these demons are disembodied, because they don't have their bodies anymore, whether they were hybrid bodies or whether they had some kind of glorified body in heaven or something like that, they don't have their bodies, so to speak, anymore. And so a lot of times they want you to they want to experience that through trying to influence a person, or they want to try to take control over a person or an animal or something of that nature to get connected to a body, I think. And also because they're just plain evil. They have no good inside of them. So it's not like you can say, oh, I feel so sorry for, this entity because they were born evil or whatever. I understand that sentiment, especially since I'm also an empathetic person. And I really do feel bad in some ways that they were created in the first place. But the entities themselves don't have anything redeemable about them. They don't have any good in them. They're just pure evil with evil desires, evil intentions, just pure evil. No desire for good, no compassion, no love is in these things. They are just absolutely void of all of that. They don't have any of what we would consider, human qualities as far as kindness, love, empathy, any of that. They just don't have it. And I think that's one reason why creating these types of hybrids was completely forbidden, is what I'm trying to say. So they had, in the Bible it says that creatures are supposed to reproduce after their own kind. So, like, a dog will give birth to dogs, or a cat will give birth to cats, and a human will give birth to humans, and things like that. And that's not saying that a bloodline can't change or evolve over time, but you're not supposed to take things and hybridize them from distant things together. You're not supposed to take an angel and a human and mix them together, because these are two separate things. And you're not supposed to take like let's say you had a laboratory. You're not supposed to mix a goat with a human and create a goat-human hybrid. It's just completely forbidden. And I think it's because they're unauthorized, that they don't have the same capacity for being on the good side that like a regular animal or a regular human would have. Humans are made in the image of God. Because we're children of Adam, we carry the image of God with us. And so we also carry original sin with us, which is, we can fix that by accepting Jesus. But so Jesus is called the second Adam. So he undid the damage that the first Adam did. But at the same time, even with the first Adam, just being a child of Adam carries certain benefits. You're eligible for salvation. You are able to have dominion over the earth. And that goes for men and women, by the way. You are able to just have a basic human dignity, inherent worth, because you're part of this family that was created by God to have dominion over the earth. So it means a lot to be human. And so you don't want to take that and corrupt it and pollute it and dilute it into something inhuman. So when these fallen angels mated with humans, they created these unauthorized entities that they had human DNA in them, but they were not human anymore. So they were created with this void inside of them, to where they weren't able to be saved anymore. They weren't having any legitimate dominion over the earth and things of that nature. So they really were just pure, unadulterated evil. And so, anyway, that's what I've come to understand over the years. And the fallen angels themselves have also been given over to being reprobates. They have no good left in them. At one point, they were created with good in them. Excuse me. But they lost that. And they're very intelligent creatures. They're very smart creatures. They're very wise in a lot of ways, as far as knowing things about the spiritual world that we in our limited understanding cannot grasp yet. I often use the analogy of you can't teach a dog to do algebra. So just like a dog could never understand algebra, they might understand a little bit of math. Like they know if you give another dog 2 treats and you give them 1 treat, they'll be like, hey, that's not fair. Where's my other treat? They know a little bit of math, okay? So dogs aren't completely stupid. They can do 1 + 1 = 2, basically. Not on a sheet of paper, but, they get the general idea of a few numbers. Let's say a wolf pack is going and they're stalking an elk herd. They know about how many elk there are in the herd. They may not be able to count 1, 2, 3, 4, but they can like visually see, okay, this is a large herd, this is a small herd. Hey, this one would make a good target to go after, that kind of thing, So canines are intelligent to a certain degree when it comes to math, but you will never, ever teach them algebra. Much less something like calculus, trigonometry. You can't do it. They don't have the capacity for it. So humans, similarly, we also have limitations. We cannot understand some things about the universe, some things about the spiritual world. Some things are just beyond our grasp. Now, when we eventually ascend and go to heaven and get glorified bodies and all of that, or we're on the new heaven and new earth, eventually, will we have our knowledge increased? Will we have our intelligence boosted and things to be able to better understand things? Yeah, probably. I would think so. But right now, we're very limited in these bodies. Our brains only have so many neurons. It can only fold so many times. So we're limited. But the angels were not limited in the same way, at least at the point where all this was going on. And so they knew better. and they did it anyway. So, and apparently the sin that led them to believe this was pride, which apparently I've been told that it is the source of all sin is pride. So that's one reason why most people just do not think that's a good thing. Anyway, if I can get back to my topic. So anyway, being prideful like this, they don't have any capacity for good in them. I am going to talk about some more experiences I had after I left the old house. So I'm just going to make this a part 1. All right. Bye-bye, guys.